I'm in favor of defunding the police. I think that what we need to do is not chip away $1 million or $5 million. I think in this first year, we need to take $1 billion out of that budget.
Are prisons obsolete?
I think that, frankly, what purpose do they serve? I think we have to ask ourselves that.
We'll have to go beyond the market. We can establish community land trusts to gradually buy up housing on the private market and convert it to community ownership.
We have to continue to elect more socialists, and we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right, or whether it is the end goal of ceasing the means of production.
सवाल पूछना चाहता हूं। तुमने कभी किसी को वोट किया?
I'm so sad for the city I love so much. I just see like this freight train coming. It's like I'm tied to the tracks. Joining me now is someone who actually is tied to the tracks. Inez Stepman, Senior Policy Analyst for the Independent Women's Forum. Inez, I know it's not your style, but make me feel better. He's not going to win, right?
It looks like he's going to win, in part because his opponents really couldn't get their act together, as is so often the case, and also because he is the zeitgeist of the new left. He reflects his voters very well. So unfortunately, he looks like he's going to pull this one out, although, I'll hold out hope for the city that I love for this not to be the case.
Inez, somehow I don't see that coming, because as much as I despise that dirty little communist, he is good at this. He's charismatic, speaks well, he's got that big, stupid, fake smile on his big, stupid face. I don't see how he falls on his face.
Yeah, look, I don't believe he's charismatic. People keep telling me this, and maybe it's just one of those things that when you hate somebody's views so much, you can't objectively analyze them. But I truly don't see what people are talking about. He seems extremely inauthentic on top of his extreme views. So he's being real in a sense about his views, but the way that he talks to people, to me, is very off-putting and inauthentic and fake. But look, you can't argue with results, right? And I think more than anything, like I said, I think he is the essence of the progressive base of the Democratic Party. And that's a base that's extremely frustrated right now and looking for an outlet, having lost a lot of national power in the last year or so. So they're looking for outlets, whether that's celebrating political violence or electing Zohran Mamdani. Unfortunately, they want to destroy New York City to essentially just to give the finger to Trump. That's really what this is about. And unfortunately, those of us who live in New York City are going to have to suffer because essentially the left's base is having a temper tantrum.
And as I think about the NYPD and how it has rotted so badly over the last 10 years because the good cops are putting in their retirement papers. They're going to walk a beat in Florida somewhere. They don't want to serve under scumbags like de Blasio. And now I can't help but think this is going to be about the last of them, right? Unless you're a year away from retirement trying to ride it out. They're checking out, and that department, which has been so revered and correctly so for so long, is going to be full of the biggest bunch of scumbags, and that breaks my heart too.
Yeah, it's the best police force in the world in New York City. These are guys who put their lives on the line every day. It's a big, roiling city, even under good law and good circumstances, which it is decidedly not today. It's a dangerous job, but it's notable compared to other liberal cities. And I've been telling people on the right about this for years. Actually, New York, since Giuliani, even under de Blasio, right, it's stayed fairly safe compared to other big blue cities because the NYPD was the final firewall, right? So Albany was letting people out on bail immediately after knifing people, and there was nothing the city could do about that. But at least the cops would go out and arrest people and take them off the street for 24 hours, for 48 hours. That's a lot, actually. That does a lot in terms of crime, or in comparison to DC, which has now done a total U-turn under Trump rule, essentially. But before, where the police have just given up, right? The police won't show up to any call that's not extremely serious, right? You can get your car jacked there, and the cops will maybe show up hours and hours later. Maybe they'll take your report, even though you have a beacon or a tracker in your car, and you can tell them where your stolen car is. They won't pursue it. They've just sort of given up. Right. And that wasn't the case in New York City for a very long time. But I think you're right. There's a lot of these guys that, who wants to be the cop who had to shoot a potentially young black perp under Zohran Mamdani as mayor, you know that you're going to become you're going to become the pincushion of the year for the left and for the mayor. So who wants? I understand. I mean, you got to understand why somebody would say, I've had it. I don't want to, I don't want to risk my livelihood. I don't want to risk my family. I don't want to risk my reputation for a city that doesn't respect me and doesn't, respect that sacrifice at all.
Yeah, I'd be gone so friggin' fast. No, I don't blame him at all. One thing that does surprise me is the fall of Andrew Cuomo. Here he is.
The city of New York. We are the capital of diversity. 180 languages spoken in our school system. 180 different languages, people from all across the world. That makes us stronger, not weaker.
And as the Cuomo family is royalty in New York City, he went from the governor's mansion to being booted out for having magic fingers, and now he's going to lose to this little turd for New York City mayor. How did someone fall that fast?
I mean, I think it really is about dynamics in the Democratic Party, and we should be familiar with it on the right. To me, this race has some of that feeling, that vibe of the 2016 race with Trump versus the entire Republican field, right? You have to understand that as radical as the Democratic Party is, its power brokers, its corrupt power brokers like Andrew Cuomo, they're not enough for the base of the party. The fact that he, shut down the entire city over COVID and forced everybody to have vax passports, that wasn't enough. And by the way, the Me Too scandals, that has become the signature calling card, particularly in New York, where the Democratic Party wants to take out one of their own. Is they manufacture or find or have somebody remember a Me Too scandal, usually of relatively minor proportions, like the things that Andrew Cuomo was accused of was making kind of inappropriate jokes. I think maybe like grabbing a thigh under a table or something. We're not talking about like a serial rapist here. But he is the face of the establishment of the Democratic Party, and that's simply not radical enough for a lot of Democratic voters. So that's why they booted him out, and it has that sort of look. People still think he might be able to win. He's not, completely out of the running when it comes to the polls, but he has that stink of the loser on him at this point, and I'm sort of skeptical that he's going to be able to pull it out, even though most of the barriers in front of him have been removed by people who are desperate to see Mamdani not be elected mayor, to see anybody but Mamdani, which anybody but Mamdani really is, Cuomo's only line that could convince anyone to vote for him at this point.
And what does this mean for the Democrat Party nationally? Because you're so correct in that their animalistic base now has their politicians afraid. They run the party now. I mean, Chuck Schumer's afraid of AOC. That's well known, but these things don't sell nationally. So it looks like they're going extinct. I mean, it's hard to imagine this can continue forever.
It's really a mirror image of what happened with Republicans, because as you know, Jesse, and you and I have agreed on this for years, and it's been frustrating us for years. Republican politicians will go to their voters, go to their district, and they'll run through a laundry list of positions that you and I agree with, and they'll say, these are my positions, send me to Washington. And then they'll go and take up that seat in Washington or in our state legislatures after Republican voters vote for them, and they will not accomplish any of those things. They won't even vote for those things, right, that they promised. So they actually moved to the center when they're elected. And that was the big divide between the base and the establishment of the party. Interestingly enough, I think it's kind of a mirror image in the Democratic Party, where they don't say the things that the base wants them to say, because they know that moderates are turned away by their full-throated endorsement of the fantasy that a man can become a woman and should play in women's sports, right? They've pulled back rhetorically from some of those positions, and their base is mad that they've pulled back rhetorically from some of those positions. But when you actually look at how they vote in Washington or in our state capitals, they vote not that far out of step with their progressive base. I mean, if you look at Andrew Cuomo's positions, now he's hitting Mamdani on the crime issue, right, that you brought up. He's hitting Mamdani on the crime issue. Andrew Cuomo signed into law the bail reform that is absolutely killing New York State right now, that has people who are, slashing people in the subway out on the street the next day. Andrew Cuomo's record is not tough on crime. It's lunatically left on crime. But he's rhetorically pulled back on that. And that's what angers his voters. So it really is, it is like this mirror image, weird, warped version of the same divide between the base and the establishment of the party. Except in this case, I think the smart Democratic voter would probably be happier, right, than the Republican voter, because these guys do vote left when they get into office. They just don't say it as loudly.
They do. It'd be nice to actually have our politicians do what they kind of say. That would be something. Inez, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.